We're live on radio, knocking on wood on technical issues, and we're back in 5, 4, 3.
And we are back, folks, here on the Michigan Insider on the Big 1050 WTKA, online at the big1050.com. Sam Webb, Mr. Ira Weintraub on the other side, and joining us like he does every single year is our man, Brian Dohn. Brian, good morning. How are you, my friend?
Sam, I got to figure out how to have that much energy. I don't care if it's 5 in the afternoon, 2 in the afternoon, as you have right now.
Yeah, I got to tell you, Brian, you do a great job of saying, "Hey, Sam, I don't know if I want to go on camera. I don't know where to go." And then you show up on camera and you look so good, man. You know what I mean? You're working out.
Well, that also tells me you need new glasses.
Well, I told Alan True, I said, Alan, normally you're the headliner. Because the Midwest is the core of the class. All the highest rated guys come from it. The majority of the class comes from the Midwest. That's not the case this year, Brian. That's the Eastern region. It feels like the majority of the class and the highest rated guys in the class come from your region. Michigan just absolutely plundered, plowed, dominated. They came in the DMV especially and said, hey, we're going to plant a flag here and we're going to harvest some of the best talent. That's exactly what they did.
Yeah, I mean, it's like in the days of Chris Partridge a little bit, right, when he was here. But, hey, Sam, before we start on the Michigan stuff, let me just say, when you tell Alan he's not the headliner anymore, there's some issues there for him that run a little bit deeper because unlike me, who's just a schlub who does this, that dude does stand-up too. And so, when you reach headliner and then they knock you back down, man, oh man, Alan's on a couch somewhere right now talking about his feelings.
Yeah, man. Yeah. But he understood because you got 2 5-stars in the Eastern region. He said, I got to defer.
So bring a 2-star on to talk about him.
Yeah, well, you and guys that you've been watching for a long time, and we got to start with the absolute headliner. He's a guy who actually rose in the rankings in the last rankings update. A guy who was actually a 2-sport guy because you can watch him do his thing on the AAU circuit, EYBL. You can watch him dunking the basketball, but really, football is where his bread is buttered. Coming off the edge over at Gonzaga. Talking about Carter Meadows, an absolute gem of a recruit that Michigan was able to land and ultimately sign this morning, as a matter of fact, as the class headliner. I think he's number 6 in the top 247, Brian. But that's a big time land for the University of Michigan.
It is, and it's interesting. One of the great things about this job is you get to see these kids over time, right? And so I remember watching Carter as a sophomore, and I'm like, got a lot of newborn deer in him, right? Long, lanky, trying to figure out his footwork, trying to figure out how he moves with everything, and watch him progress last year and got better. And then this year, it's really easy to forget just how big he is because he moves quick. He covers a lot of space in just a couple steps. He's getting a lot better with just being able to make this, attack the left tackle and really make a move. He's increased his move set. There's a lot of things that he has really changed or developed in his game. And what's exciting for me about him is there's so much more room for growth. He's no longer just a speed guy off the edge. He does have some moves inside, but once he gets a little bit of an opening and some free space to go, boy, he closes on that quarterback or the running back on the backside. He does it well. He'll have to continue to get better at run stopping, which, listen, they're not – you're not going to Michigan just because he can stop the run, right? You're going to get the quarterback. And he can do that, and he'll add some weight to his frame. You said he played basketball. Yeah, and that's a big reason why it took him longer to add weight. But, yeah, I'm excited about him.
Yeah, that's the thing. He's just light, but, one of those guys who – his ability to bend, change direction, explode, all those athletic traits that translate from the basketball court to the football field, you can really see them. And now add some weight and some Kayvon Thibodeau kind of jumps into your mind, right? That's kind of what I see when I project some weight onto him down the line.
Listen, if he doesn't show up in training camp, well, listen, they don't really do the early enrollee thing at Gonzaga, so I would think by the time his freshman year's over, he'll have on 25, 30 pounds in a good way, Sam, not the way I would put it on. And so he's a kid who, though, again, for those that can see the clips, you just see his athleticism and his ability to really stack and shed right now, which he improved on. And for those who can't, you can still understand what his stack and shed ability is. And so for me, what excites me the most is not only is he a really good athlete, great kid, by the way, but he also worked really hard at his football craft while also playing basketball. And I love when kids play two sports as long as they can, because you only get so many days to do that. And so that he was able to continue to do that on the AAU circuit at Gonzaga is exciting. But boy, man, pass rushers get paid a lot in whether it's the college game now or the NFL. And this kid, if he continues to progress, I mean, this is what they're supposed to look like when you're kind of designing them in the lab.
Yeah, he is a prototype for sure. Lou Esposito wanted to load up on the defensive line. That is the foundation of this class. If you look in recent classes, like offensive line, it's about the D line in this class. He absolutely loaded up, and Carter Meadows is the headliner. You talked about Titan Davis with Alan True. That's his partner in crime. They came into the TMI studio together, Carter and Titan. Those are, on one side, he's on Titans on one side, Carter's on the other. It's just an epic haul. Well, you talk about headliners, Brian. Man, your region was huge for Michigan. The DMV was huge for Michigan. So you start with Carter Meadows. He moved past another Michigan recruit in that region. That other Michigan recruit was the subject of a fierce recruitment. I mean, you had to jump Tennessee and Georgia and Ohio State. I mean, you had to jump everybody for Savion Hiter. This was a tough recruitment for Tony Alford, and he got it done. Dohn, and you talk about a big-time running back recruit. That is, without question, Mr. Hiter.
I'm ready to go play listening to you, Sam. Let's go. Yeah, you're right. And I think at the end of the day, Hiter looked at Michigan and Tennessee. But yeah, listen, you're right, Sam. At one point, boy, if you would have asked pretty much anybody in the industry what he was going to do, it looked like Georgia. And then Michigan, they got him on campus a few times, and he really liked the vibe there, understood what they are offensively, what they want to do, what Sharon Moore has done with the offensive line in years past, thought about running behind that line and what it means to, you guys just had the Ohio State-Michigan game. And I don't care what the quarterbacks are. The winner of that game is usually the one that dominates the line of scrimmage and can run the ball. And so that's what they're getting in him. He's a guy who can be, 25, 30 carry a game when you need him. But beyond that, we always, in this rev share NIL world, we talk a lot about money, and it's a big factor, right? There's no lying about that. But for parents, it still comes down to, yeah, great. Is my son going to get paid? Great. But are they comfortable? And what happens beyond football? And I really think Michigan did a great job early on of setting that tone as far as the degree, academics, and all that stuff. And then when the other stuff moves to the forefront, football, rev share, NIL, relationships with coaches, Michigan just continued to build on a momentum from one of those early visits for him. And I never viewed him as I know Ohio State was in it and tried to get in it, but I viewed it midway as kind of a Georgia-Michigan battle, and then it just turned into a Michigan-Tennessee battle. And, Tennessee runs the ball well, too, and it's the SEC. And it was not as easy and as much of a slam dunk as it seemed at the end. I think everybody thought he was going to Michigan as it came to a close, but there were some tense moments on the inside on which way he would go. And listen, if you want to win championships, you have to be able to run the ball. And yeah, the kid's really good. You watch his tape, and boy, he hits the hole. He does so many things good. But for me, it's, can you make that 2-yard loss a 1 yard or 2 yard gain? Can you make that 2 yard gain a 7 yard gain? And he can do all that stuff. He doesn't have to do it much where he is because he's just so physically dominant. But he does have some shiftiness to where, and he can run with power, that it's what you need for the little things as the back, not the home run threat.
Yeah. I think a couple of things jump out to me. His contact balance is elite.
Yeah.
So his ability to take a hit, stay upright, and get to top speed quickly is something that separates him from other good backs. It's what makes him elite. So you're in the hole, you take a couple of hits, he stays up, and then he can get up to top speed. So I don't think he's like he isn't necessarily a 4-3 guy per se, but you hit him, you think he's down, he's still up, and then he's up to top speed in a couple of steps and running away from people. So that's you don't have to be 4-3 if you can do that. You can be 4-5 if you can do that. And I think he's probably a little faster than that, but you get my point.
Yeah, you're right. And it's like everybody loves the top speed stuff, and I get it. But, I mean, how many 60-yard runs does Michigan have every season, right? It just even it doesn't matter who you're playing. The other team usually has some pretty good speed in the secondary. So what can you do within the first 10 yards of the line of scrimmage? Can you make that one person miss? Like you said, he doesn't go down on first contact very easily. And sure, I mean, again, he's playing public school ball in Virginia, playing in the Big Ten against, Oregon, Indiana, Ohio State is a little. Am I allowed to say Ohio State on this?
Yeah, you are. Yeah.
All right, but it's like, for me, it's like you're going to hit him, and he's going to stay up, and then by the fourth quarter, it's going to be like, I don't want to take this dude on, or you're going to be fatigued, and so that's where the value is, not only what he can do in the first quarter, but what the cumulative effect is in the fourth quarter. And he has stamina. He is powerful. Like you said, he's balanced. He's a 5-star, right? I mean, right. So he does all these things, but it's really the little nuanced stuff to me that really elevates his game.
Yeah, just a really special player. And in the end, he said, listen, I want to play for Tony Alford. You mentioned it earlier, the relationships absolutely huge and key for Michigan in this recruitment, and that relationship especially. One of the things that Ohio State, listen, I've been giving them their credit. They won the game. One of the things they said about Tony Alford was, hey, he can't recruit anymore. Well, the key reason that you hear from Savion Hiter, he said, man, I want to play for Tony Alford.
Right.
I look at his track record, and my relationship with him was a big key in me wanting to go to Michigan. So
you look at it, Sam, like, how long has Tony Alford been at Michigan now?
This is his second year.
Exactly. And where did Savion's recruitment really begin with Michigan?
Ohio State. With Tony Alford. A couple years ago with Tony Alford.
Right. So, that's, when we go back to the beginning, you see how this stuff went. I mean, as soon as Alfred got there, and Savion at that time, he would do interviews. Okay, we'll just make it that way, right? And that was a big thing. I remember meeting him with him at his school, and this was during his junior year, and he talked about how Tony Alford moving to Michigan really changed his trajectory with the Wolverines. I mean, yeah, he liked him. It's Michigan and all that stuff. But, he had that relationship with Alfred. Alfred had the relationship with his family. Savion's from a very tight-knit family where Savion did not make decisions by himself. It was family discussion stuff. I remember talking to his mom about how they would go on visits. She would take all the notes. And then they would get home, and as they decompressed, they would then meet as a family and talk about everything. And so they were really meticulous with all this stuff. And it didn't matter if it was that time I was there as a junior, when he was a junior, or when I would see him any other time. Tony Alford was always at the forefront of when he spoke about Michigan.
Yeah, so another one, we're talking to Brian Dohn, Eastern Region analyst for 247Sports here on the Michigan Insider on the Big 1050 WTKA, online at thebig1050.com. So I know I got to speed up because there's so many guys, but one of the guys who was a really high, he rose in the rankings here significantly. I know you liked them all along, but Marky Walbridge has really shot up in the rankings in Michigan. Clearly, they were an early adopter. They thought he was much better than the rankings all along. Clearly, our rankings guys eventually caught up to that as well.
He is New England kid, right? Plays at Massachusetts, and before James Franklin got fired from Penn State, they were trying to flip him, and Franklin went to one of his games, and Marky's like, "Nah, I'm good with Michigan." He was in all the time, but he is nasty. Like you watch his film, you see him play. He is nasty. He likes to knock you down, and then not just get on top of you. He likes to drive you into the ground. Really athletic. Watching him get out and on screens, and they pull him as a left tackle, and he is just so athletic and effortless and fluid in space. And again, nasty, physical. Talked to a couple coaches who played against him, and I'm like, okay, how'd Marky do? And they're like, he is a monster. Like there were no questions on them thinking he was a top offensive lineman in the one of the top in the country, and it shows. I mean, he will finish blocks, and when he's finished the block, he'll finish it again. I think of this with Big Ten football, Sam. I think of mid to late November. The weather isn't great, and you're physical, and you need to run the ball. Yeah, this is the kind of dude you want on the O-line.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I think that people need to realize. His attitude and nastiness, I think you are really, really giving a lot of appropriate credit to. But when you watch his tape, you see his athleticism, Brian. Like the dude is
off the charts.
Yep,
off the charts. Like you watch it, and it's like, man, lineman? He's moving like that as a lineman? Yeah, get in the weight room, learn your technique, and get on the field in the big house.
Yeah, and that's what I give you credit for. Not a lot of people, not a lot of analysts or services look up in the Eastern region, up in Massachusetts, for the Mikey Sainristles and Zach Centers, and up in Connecticut for the Cornelius Johnsons of the world. And you do, like, you see those guys.
Every year I go up twice a year. I mean, shoot, I remember sitting in Everett High School with Sanders still when he was still committed to Virginia Tech. TJ Guy, who was going to go, I think, to BC, and there were some academic things. I think he wound up at Coastal before going to Michigan. If I'm going, Trey Williams is a Hartford kid who was at St. Thomas More before he went down to DC at St. John's. I mean, the coaches up there do a really good job of, a lot of the talent's in the private schools up in New England, and there's good talent. You just have to be willing to go there and spend maybe a day on the road recruiting and maybe only see 3 or 4 kids, as opposed to, you talk about the DMV, you can go to one school and see 10. So, but there's talent up there in Michigan, whether it was Don Brown, or before that or after, they do a good job of getting up there, and, the Michigan brand matters. And you see that with these kids. So
a guy that I know well, I know well, Michigan fans know well. We've had him on the show. We had his mom on the show, Tiffany. Travis Johnson,
yes,
down in Chesapeake.
Yes.
One of the wide receiver recruits in this class. I think this kid has a world of upside. I think he's going to be a player and a baller. for Michigan. I'm curious what you think of Trav and what he's going to bring to the table.
First of all, I mean, his mom's awesome, right? Like her other son, one of her other sons at West Virginia, transferred down to, I think, Southern Miss, and really understood the process. But they handle the recruitment really well. They're accessible. So it's fun when you get to know these kids and kind of see their personalities. But he is long, athletic, can run. He will attack the ball in the air. 50-50 balls. His attitude is, I'm going to get it. It's mine. Plays at a power down at Oscar Smith down in Chesapeake, which is 757 Tidewater for those that know or don't know. But yeah, I think, when I watch him, he can get behind a defense, but I think he's a good route runner. He really does a good job when a play breaks down of finding an open spot, getting back toward the quarterback and making the catch. Understands the game well. He's got some quickness after the catch. He catches it, he puts it away, and then he'll head up the field. Has some elusiveness in space. I mean, he's not going to sit there and juke 14 people, but he can make some yards after the catch, even in traffic. And I'm eager to see how he develops. Does he develop as a down the field threat? Does he develop more as a possession guy? I think he could go either way on it. I want to see how the speed translates, but once he gets in the open field, he's pretty to watch run, man. He's got a long stride, and he can go.
Yeah, Michigan, like I said, that DMV area was good to Michigan for sure. He was not the only guy in the state of Virginia. We talked about Savion Hiter in Virginia. What about Andre Clarke that they went down in Richmond to get?
Yeah, he's an interesting cat, right? I mean, corner, he loves playing man. He loves pressing you, likes being physical. And what I like is he's got really good ball skills. Like, you see it with some of his plays on defense and the interceptions, but also with the way he plays on offense. When he plays receiver, he knows how to track the ball. He knows, he's got body control. He knows how to position his body to, fend off, hold off the defender. And those traits move over to defense as well. And I think he's really easy to overlook in this class, just like another kid we're going to talk about probably, because he committed kind of early, and he's not the flashy, top 150 kid, but he's a really good player who'll be able to develop. He'll play some safety, he'll play corner, but he likes the physical aspect of being in the secondary. And I go back to it, Sam. I say it all the time, like, Michigan football is physical, right? And so you need that physicality everywhere, and he brings that attitude, to the secondary. I really like the kid. He's a smart kid. Yeah, I'm a big fan of his. Just not only as a player, I love him as a player, but as a kid, I think he's fantastic.
Yeah, I think he can play all over the secondary. I think he can play corner. He can play safety. I think he's smart. He reminds me a lot of Rob Moore in that way. But a super versatile kid. Yeah. On the back end, kind of like a chess piece. Michigan can look at what they have in the secondary elsewhere and say, what don't we have? What can these other guys do and place Andre Clarke based on what the other guys in the secondary can or can't do?
Yeah, and I think you maybe you start him out at nickel and see what goes there, so there's not as much pressure on him there. But yeah, I think when you're looking at kids, like when I look at kids and wondering what they are, the first thing is, so with Michigan, right? Okay, how does this kid help you beat Ohio State? How does he help you beat, well, now Indiana or Oregon or stuff like that? And his ability to move around and play different spots is really an asset. And I also look at it from not just you can start him off where you need him if there's a hole there, but he's smart enough to, like, okay, you're playing nickel, something happened to your safety. Now he has some experience. Let's move him to safety, because I think he can pick up stuff like that.
Yeah. So a few more kids in your region. I think you were talking about under the radar guys. Definitely a kid who we love. He reminds us a lot of, at least to me, playing for the Los Angeles Rams now, who we got a chance to see do his thing as a member of the national championship team, but Josiah Stewart, talking about Tariq Boney. What do you think of Tariq?
I think if Tariq was 2 inches taller, he'd be a top 100 kid, right? Like, he is electric off the edge, and he has speed. He's mobile. His athleticism, he can bend to get underneath the offensive lineman and then explode to the quarterback. Sam, when you watch his senior tape, look again, he's 6'1", I guess, right around there, 6'1", 6'2". But he plays violent and he plays physical. I feel like I'm saying physical a lot, and I don't even mean to, but that's what this class is when I look at these kids. Like, he will take on the block, he'll knock him back, and when he's going to tackle a dude, you got tackled by him. It's not like, somebody got him. It's like, oof, who's that? And so for me, like, look, Sam, you and I spoke about him a lot in the last year, probably.
Yeah.
He's really good. And so the issue then becomes, why is his ranking so low? And, low is relative, I guess, but it's like, we judge things on where their NFL draft, where would they go in the NFL draft? And you can say it's foolish or that's hard to do, whatever, but that's the way we do it, right? So that's fine. And so there's not a lot of 6'1" edge guys in the NFL, but it's okay. Michigan, while they would love him to get to the NFL, they just need him to get to the quarterback, into the backfield for tackles for loss. And the college game is so much different that, he has a chance to be a dominant factor just because he's explosive, he's physical, athletic, he plays with a great motor. I mean, and I think he's a really, he's a fun kid to talk to also, who is driven by people. When people tell him you can't do this, maybe not that motivates him in a big way. And look, him and I discussed the ranking, and this is what I love about it, right? So we discussed it, and obviously he doesn't agree with it, but he understands it. And that's all, right? So you don't, it's like, I tell my kids all the time, you don't have to like what I'm telling you, but just understand that, everything isn't always perfect for you.
What is he, about 6'1", about 235, you think?
Yeah. And but when he uncoils and goes at this snap, it's like, woof. I mean, and the way defenses have evolved, just stand him up on the edge, say, go get the dude with the ball, and he'll find a way to find that guy. And his like, it is so easy to watch film and to be like, this kid plays hard. But watching him play in and play out when you see him in person, like, it doesn't matter if they're up 25, down 25, or it's a one-score game. He plays hard.
Yeah, I think he'll be 250, 255. And that's Josiah Stewart. That's Josiah Stewart, and he's in the NFL. He's a third-round pick in the NFL. He didn't have prototypical metrics. Either.
I was going to say, I think Josiah, I said TJ Guy. I think I meant Josiah earlier in it. I think that's who it was. Josiah with BC. Don't get old, folks. You kind of forget things.
Well, Josiah wound up at Coastal.
Yeah, he was the one from Massachusetts, committed to BC, had some academic stuff, went to Coastal, and then wound up at Michigan and did really well. So I misspoke earlier with TJ Guy. So I'm sure your producer will go back over all the video and plug me back in and make me sound good.
Yeah, so it was without question a guy that Michigan mentioned with Tariq Boney. Markel Dabney came up and lit it up in Michigan 7-on-7 camp and showed them that, he was playing safety, but came up and said, hey, I'm going to be a linebacker who can cover. He played receiver at that camp, just a really versatile prospect, that a projection guy as a linebacker that's really smart too and athletic. I just really like this kid out of Richmond Huguenot.
I like him because he, there were questions on whether Michigan was going to take him at the time of his commitment. And he bet on himself and said, yeah, I can do this, and convinced Michigan. And I think he's a kid that has something to prove, and he enjoys that. So I really like that. And listen, I'll help people out here, right? So Google Markel Dabney, Huddle, HUDL, pop up his senior tape, and watch the first play of him dropping back into coverage, picking it off and going like 90 yards. Watching him run from basically the secondary with receivers, those receivers look tiny watching him run, and he goes all the way, pulls away, and it is absolutely amazing to watch his transformation as an athlete. And just like you said, safety, he's going to move up, and he did move up in the box this year some, and he just has instincts. He understands where the ball is. He hits the right gaps. So I'm excited to see how he develops. I don't think he's a kid that gets there and gets on the field early, but he'll stay with it, coach him up. He's got athleticism. He's got size. He's got the desire. He'll come up and hit you. I'm interested to watch his development.
Yeah, and I don't think they expect him to be a guy who gets on the field right away. Like I said, I think he's a projection guy that who is tremendously athletic, really, really smart. And listen, there were, SMU was looking to pay him a whole lot of money. Pitt was looking to pay him a whole lot of money. You talk about betting on himself.
Yeah.
I want to go to Michigan. I want to go to Michigan.
Yeah, I can't remember. He was committed to SMU, wasn't he, or was going to commit
right
to it? And so yeah, I mean, listen, it's what I said before, Sam, and I'm not naive. I mean, it's not like I'm sitting here saying Michigan doesn't take care of these players legally, right? It's allowed, so make sure we understand that. But kids can get more to go other places, right? And Michigan lived the other side of it. They wanted Nick Abrams, and he took, Georgia wasn't giving him the most, and he went there. And so I think in this age, and I'm as cynical as they come, but in this age, it's really easy to be like, well, he went there for the money. It's all about the money. It's not like that for 90 to 95% of these kids. The money is similar in a lot of these places. And going to Michigan, he's betting on himself, and he's betting that playing in the Big Ten as a linebacker is a better fit than playing in the ACC as a linebacker. That's what he's betting on, that he'll develop more. He'll show his ability, especially against the run in a physical league like the Big Ten, that can lead, because all these kids, and this is what makes them great, all these kids think they're going to the NFL. And I'm not going to tell any of them they're not, because you never know how they're going to develop. But he's confident, not in a cocky way, but confident in his ability to develop, and he wants to be at Michigan. And so I give him a ton of credit for it.
Yeah, and then the last one for you, Brian, was the most recent commitment, a center prospect that Michigan flipped from Virginia Tech, despite the best efforts of James Franklin. He said, hey, I just came from Penn State. My name is James. This is what I do. I recruit. Don't you know who I am? You got to stay with me. He said, no. I want to go to Michigan. It's my dream. I can't stay with you, James. Talking about Adrian Hamilton. Tell the Michigan fans about Adrian.
Adrian was going to Michigan the moment he was offered in late October, when, nobody knew what James Franklin was going to do. Now, hey, look, Virginia Tech went hard on him and tried to get him, and that wasn't going to happen. I think I had the quotes from Adrian's commitment for like a month before he actually announced. But so here's the deal with Adrian. This is actually really interesting with him. He is, 6'2.5", maybe, right? 270, 280. He plays left tackle at St. John's in D.C. They'll move him inside. He'll probably be a center at Michigan, right? And so he is really athletic. We talked about Marky Walbridge before. I always want to say Wahlberg, but Walbridge before. And this is similar. He's just not as big as Marky. Like, he gets out in space running. He'll get to the second level, and you'll be like, yo, who was that flashed? And for a minute, you're like, was that the tight end? You go back and watch the film. It's like, well, no, that was the left tackle. He's really athletic. He plays low. He's really good in the run game. like most kids, he'll have to develop pass pro, but he embraces that he's not 6'5". He's like, hey, man, just put me on the field. I'll show you what I can do. I'm happy Michigan moved on him just because one of the things, Sam, that drives me nuts in recruiting is everything is so testing and measurements and this and that. And it's like, and I get it. You don't want a 5'10" left tackle. I do get it. But if you can ball, you can ball. And sometimes people fall back on the testing numbers, or he doesn't have this length. Look, Ohio State won a Fiesta Bowl. I think the center was 5'11", right? So you don't have to be huge at center. He's a smart kid. He'll grind. He'll play low. He's physical. I'm glad Michigan moved on him because it takes a lot to overlook, what everybody thinks should be the prototypical guy.
Yeah. And I'd be remiss before we let you go. Michigan already started on down the line, and they said, hey, you know what? We want to get a quarterback of the future. and you were the first one to tell me about Peter Bourque. Yeah. Out of Tabor Academy. And you said, hey, Sam, this dude, he's a ball player, Sam. You got to keep an eye on him, Sam. And Michigan is looking pretty good for him, Sam. And I was looking at the quarterback out of down in Louisiana. So no, I think Bourque is leaning towards Michigan. And next thing you know, he was in the fold for the Maize and Blue. So let's close things out talking about a 2027 commit. They already have their quarterback committed in the 2027 class out of your region, Brian. So tell the fans about Peter Bourque.
Peter Bourque, Tabor Academy up in Massachusetts, no relation to Ray Bourque for the hockey folks out there. So Red Wing fans, settle down. But Peter Bourque, I went and watched him play late September, early October, whenever it is. And he really good accuracy. He's athletic. Like his coach, Jeff Moore, who does an awesome job, has been at a few places and has built that into a power up there. Says, hey, when he was telling me about Michigan, he goes, I'm telling you, man, he's going to be like J.J. McCarthy. And I said, I think this kid's more athletic than J.J. was. And that's not a slight on J.J., but Bourque knows how to extend plays. He's smart. He loves the film room. Like he lives in it. He'll make some unbelievable throws. I watched him on a fourth and 8 at midfield when the game was first half, but it was still a close game. And he just put a little teardrop on kind of like a corner post to a receiver from the slot. And he had pressure and he looped it right over the defender, right on the sideline. Kid makes the catch. They go on and score, whatever. But poised, wants to get better, will look at his faults quickly. For the folks who can see him, he just had a long run there. I mean, some of the games, it's like me and Sam chasing the guy, so don't get overexcited about that. But, and it's only going to get better, right? When I was at the game, the Michigan quarterback coach was there, and you can see him smile on some stuff. And he's a leader, too. And obviously people are like, well, he better be. He's a quarterback. But that doesn't always translate. And he's not like, rah, let's go, guys, let's win. He is, hey, follow me. I'll take the hits. Everything's my fault. Even if I put a ball right in your hands and you drop it, it's still my fault. And he just moves on to the next play. But arm strength is there, athleticism. He understands how to move in the pocket. He's comfortable in the pocket. But you can get out and move. When a play breaks down, he'll keep his eyes down the field. And he's a kid that'll get out and recruit and try to get people to join the class. And he's a very, very social kid in terms of reaching out to people. So that's a good way to, it's a long way till he signs, but it's a good one to get in your house early.
Yeah, man. Prototypical size, getting the quarterback in the class early is the best way to get a recruiting class started, because as you said, your quarterback will recruit for you, Brian, and a highly rated guy at that. That's a draw. As 247Sports has him as rated the number 8 quarterback in the class, number 85 player overall. He's a 4-star prospect, 6'4", 190 pounds.
Sam, it's funny because, we all talk about that stuff, but this will tell you a little bit about the kid. So, when we were talking about him committing there, and he's like, well, listen, I get to go there and watch Bryce for a year and learn from Bryce Underwood for a year. And then if Bryce moves on, then Peter can move into that spot. And that's how he thinks. It's not just the offense, the coaching staff. It's just how can he get somewhere and learn from somebody for a year? Do you want to come in and play as a freshman? I mean, they all do. Sometimes it's counterproductive, right, to development. So he understands to get there and learn from somebody who's really talented.
Brian Dohn, the headliner. Look at how you did as the headliner, Brian.
Hey.
And I tell the Michigan fans, they said Brian's a Penn State guy. I said, no, he's not. No, he's not. Brian loves Michigan. You guys didn't know that, did you?
I mean, listen, I went to Rutgers, right? So we're an academic school, and so I mean, I don't care where these kids go to school. I root for kids on Saturdays, right? You don't think I'm sitting there watching Blake Corum for Michigan be like, I remember talking to Blake, they would get up at 4:30 in the morning to go to a workout with his team. Like, I'm rooting for those guys. You know what I mean? Like CJ Johnson, I went up to watch him at Brunswick. I'm like, yeah, man, go do this. I mean, that's what that's what I care
I just want you guys to know this is my dude. This is my guy. I love this guy. I swear by this guy. This is my dude. So I don't care what anybody says. I love Brian Dohn.
I appreciate that, Sam. And here's the difference. I get to go take a nap now, and you got to stay on the air because my energy cannot match yours for this time.
Well, Brian, appreciate you as always, man. Thanks a lot for your time. Get some rest. It is still a long day. I know you still got to file some things later on in the day. So, once we get through it, though, it'll be a little time to rest. So thanks a lot for spending part of your day with us, and good luck the rest of the way.
I appreciate it, Sam. Thanks for having me as always.
All right, folks. To the rest of you, we got to get to a break. Be back on the other side here on the Michigan Insider on the Big 1050 WTKA online at the Big